It has been more than a year now that we moved from Belgium to Italy. Most of the time, I'm so used to my new surroundings that I forget how short of a time I'm actually living here. And just like that, this little anniversary snuck past my attention. On the other hand, there are moments that I feel like a total outsider here. And yet I can't imagine myself moving back. I've changed too much in this last year to still feel the same as I once did in my home country. I thought about telling you some of my personal experiences in this move. Since there is already a lot of useful practical information out there, I decided that I don't have anything to add to that. But from me, you can hear the story from a dreamy introvert who moved to another country. In general, the excitement of moving and starting a new adventure is very well known. But aside from exciting, it also has been tough. I guess that whoever undertook something this big in their life might relate to what I'm going to tell. Although, experience differs from person to person and situation to situation. When I decided, definitely for myself, that I wanted to move to Italy and start a new life, I realized that with embracing this adventure, I would also be giving up a lot. Like being able to be around my family and friends whenever I want to. In the time before moving, I sometimes could be struck by realizations that could leave me sad. That loved ones will unexpectedly die while I'm so far away. That our potential future children will not be familiar with my home country and its culture as I was. And that I, myself, will one day grow estranged from the places and culture that once felt so familiar that they seem to be part of me. I already noticed when I visited home how much can change in 1 year in terms of new buildings being built and old ones destroyed. One of the scariest ideas for me is that when me and my sister are at old age, we might be actually too tired and limited to visit each other. The thought that I might leave this world without having seen my sister in the last years is horrible. But life is life. The future is unknown, and problems are there to be solved. I always took the time to grieve for the old life and its prospective future that I gave up. But I also chose not to linger in those sad feelings too long, and not to live in fear for possible futures. I see it as a normal thing that the beauty of adventure also has a turn side. And it's to us to learn how to balance both. Driving away out of my country was hard. All the road up to the first border that we would cross, I had to hold myself back from asking my husband to turn back. It felt like jumping into unknown waters. With everything packed in boxes, the life that we had built in Belgium closed off, not knowing yet how the new life would take shape. It's a very strange feeling, similar to when I graduated and knew that my predictable student life would be replaced by a life that I would have to build up from scratch. It felt overwhelming. But I told myself that for the first year I could take everything step by step, at my own pace. The first step would be arriving in Italy, eating, and then going to sleep. The house where we now live didn't only need a facelift. We couldn't really move in there since we didn't have any electricity, running water or gas. Until the basics were figured out, we would be living with my parents-in-law. Something we thought would only take 2 weeks, but ended up taking almost 3 months due to bureaucracy. Those first 3 months were rather hard. I lived in a survival mode. Mostly, I would wake up feeling frozen. Before the move, I thought that it would just feel like being on holidays, but it didn't. I was very aware of that I didn't have a home, and everything that could serve as a home substitute was very far away. I spoke a bit of Italian, but not enough to express myself fluently, which made me feel isolated. I relied a lot on my husband, and I don't know how I would have done all of this without his support and comfort. I chose to distract myself and give myself a daily purpose by diving deep into the renovations. Like that, I could take a bit of control back over my life by working on building the home I so desperately longed for. The combination of not having a home, being in a new environment far away from family and friends, and going through multiple bureaucratic processes, both for my personal documents and also gas, water, and electricity, was very stressful. When we finally moved into the house, I soon realized that the survival phase had made place for one of adaptation. Before moving to Italy, I decided for myself that I wanted to integrate well. I wanted to learn to speak the language fluently and learn everything about the culture, social norms, and customs. But that was not as easy as I thought it would be. I found myself in a very new, unpredictable environment. The people around me were all loving and well-willing, but followed different social patterns than what I was used to in Belgium. Plus, I'm an introvert, and the Italian culture is dominantly extrovert, which could at moments be very heavy and exhausting. Because of the unpredictability, I felt resistant to changing. More than ever, I felt like holding on to all I knew, my Belgian culture, habits, social norms. Now that I'm way more established in this country, I can look back at it and understand that I had to observe and undergo everything, so I would get used to it. And that takes time. But after getting used to things, their predictableness gets established, and that created the openness to let some of my old customs go and accept a new normal. With time, I also figured out how I could be an introvert in this extrovert culture. Allowing myself to be shy and quiet at first contacts, being bad at the usual Italian small talk, seeing people a bit less often than what they are used to, and exploding in energetic weirdness once I got familiar to some people. I noticed that my new environment allowed me to be and didn't question my character. And I also started to recognize some introverts around me with similar struggles within this culture. In the beginning, I often felt like a child again. Even though I moved from one European country to another, many things were so incredibly different that a lot of how-to knowledge that I've built up over the years became useless. To give some examples, the social services are organized very differently here, in structure, in what they provide and how they can be contacted. Also in Belgium, for whatever I would need, I would know in which shop I would have a good chance of finding it, and even could estimate what it could cost me. I had to build up all that kind of knowledge again here. By now I figured out a lot already, but I still don't know where I can find new health shoes that look nice, or where to go for very specific art supplies like brass foil. I tried asking people or look it up on Google, but not everyone has similar habits as me, so some info is just hard to come to. And aside from that, it can get annoying to always have to ask people for help or information. At some point, the desire to rely on oneself becomes quite strong. In the beginning, I also really relied on my husband to drive me around and accompany me to places where I might not be able to save myself with my level of Italian. I don't drive the car, and distances are bigger here, so not everything is doable by bike, especially with the warm weather. Plus, public transport doesn't bring you everywhere and drives less frequently than what I'm used to in my small home country. Now I have an electrical bike, and it really gave me a sense of freedom. I would also advise people to find a comfortable way to get around places. It's not nice to feel locked up. I like to take little detours whenever I have time and explore new streets, neighborhoods, and shops by driving by and looking around. It helps me a lot familiarizing with the new environment. There is something very comforting about having your gaze stroke over familiar shapes and colors of houses and buildings. In the beginning, I told myself that I could take a few months to be jobless. Take the time to set out my roots, renovate, and learn the language. But I put a time limit. After New Year's, I would have to start looking for a job. And that I found. I am working part-time now, and it really helped me feeling more at home. First, our house served as a safe exploration base. But now I go to work, I notice that the circumference of where I feel comfortable spread much further. Also, my Italian got much better. With the new job, I got to practice a lot with a wide array of people. I can basically talk to anyone now. It's a bit rough here and there, but people understand me, and I can talk freely about my day, my interests, and experiences without feeling too limited. I got to know new people that take part of my weekly life, and I'm slowly building up connections outside of my husband's social circle. Connections of my own, which is very important. There are a few things that really helped me through all of this. One thing were the people in my environment. Both here in Italy and in Belgium, I received a lot of encouragement and support from my loved ones. Their understanding really helped a lot. Throughout this year, I noticed that struggles and homesickness seem to come in waves, similar to how many emotions come. In the beginning, the waves were overwhelming, followed each other up very quickly, and were high in peaks. And as the months progressed, they would come less frequent, with more time of tranquility and contentment between them, and with less high peaks, although the intensity can depend on which situation triggered the wave. Recognizing this pattern would help me trying to undergo the waves and find peace with them. Eventually all storms pass. Slowly renovating the house and giving the garden shape, the actually making of a home here, also helped me. It gave me a sense of control, where the outside world felt so different and unpredictable. I created a little bubble for us where things could feel as they always felt. I am also a person who is very affected by the beauty in my surroundings, the colors, the noises, smells, and shapes. For example, if I would feel overwhelmed, I could go and sit in our sofa and just quietly look around our living room, at our little rabbit, the paintings, the colors of the rug, the shapes of our dresser. And seeing all the beauty of the garden grow under my hands brought me in daily awe. Having my own garden and growing vegetables and flowers also have been one of my dearest wishes over the years. And something unexpected that really helped me were the mountains. We live very close to them. If it's not too cloudy, you can actually see them from anywhere around here. They are always there, and their shapes never change. They are like a silent anchor, one that even helps me orientate myself when I don't recognize where I am. We have been going on hikes quite often in the last year. Usually when we both felt mentally tired, but also with friends, as a little social trip. There is something about the majestic beauty of mountains that feels very comforting. We could walk up with a heavy heart and a head full of worries, to then walk back down all emptied and peaceful. Problems don't exist on the top of a mountain. Only awe.
We made it.
Now, after 1 year, I feel that many things are falling in place. Bit by bit, step by step, I'm finding myself back here and figuring out who I am and can be in this country. I came here with the idea to integrate well, but figured out along the way that I also didn't want to erase the identity that is linked to my Belgian customs. I'm slowly on finding a way to let the old blend together with the new as I'm growing accustomed to this new place. I know more and more what I can expect from my surroundings. I understand people's reactions better, read their gestures, know their holidays and celebrations. And since I have a job, I also have been building up a bit of a routine. not only in what I do in a day, but also which people I can expect to see in the course of a week. So yeah, it has been quite a year, but I can only say that I learned a lot from this experience, about myself and about our culture. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I don't regret our choice to move. And I'm excited to find which other adventures await us in the future. As Tolkien wrote, "The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break." He also wrote, "It simply isn't an adventure worth telling if there aren't any dragons." With all that time that we've spent in the mountains, I have been looking, but I couldn't find any dragons so far. But I hope that this adventure was worth listening to nevertheless. Of course, there could be plenty more to tell about this move, but I couldn't put everything in just one video without overwhelming you with a lot of information. So if you have questions when it comes to this move, you can write them here in the comments or to me on Instagram. I will collect them, and once I have enough, I will make you a video where I give you my answers. And for now, I thank you for listening to my experience, and I wish you a lovely day.